will admit the difficulty of this sermon. I would also like to say that this is not necessarily addressed to one gender. The problem in society today, there's so many people that do not have an upbringing. But there is no guarantee that problems in families between individuals, between husband and wives, brothers and brothers, sisters and sisters, there's no guarantee that things will not happen. When things happen in our relationships, the best thing to do is show love to that individual, show understanding, and listen. So, you didn't hear this morning, I mentioned that there was a question that was placed before the public. And the question was, what is the fastest way to calm a woman when she is angry? Now, we could ask the same question, what is the quickest way to calm a husband when he is angry? Or, how do you calm a daughter or a son or a friend? I hope you never have to ask the question, how do you, what's the fastest way to calm a preacher down? Apple pie. I know there are some things you do not want to do. I have 15 do nots. Oh, first of all, there is no fast way. In our life, there's sometimes things that brew and heat up, and it takes a while before something explodes. So don't expect something that took a while to happen for a quick release, a quick cure, a quick understanding, and forgiveness is just offered instantly. It's like taking a snow globe, shaking it. What do you have to do? You have to let it sit down and let it settle on its own. And it might take a while for those little snowflakes to settle down. And so sometimes individuals need to fume. They need to express. I pray that in allowing this, we're not allowing them to sin, because the Bible tells us not to let sin, not let the sun go down on our anger. It tells us to have a righteous anger, but to do things properly and spiritually. So, back to not to do. Don't tell her to go in the kitchen and make you a sandwich. Don't, like one person said, I always resort to a cold bucket of water. You might cool them off, but that's not going to help anything. Don't let them see what you've posted on Facebook for them. You don't want to put anything out into the public. You know what my wife did? You know what my husband did? That's not going to calm or solve anything. Don't say, quit acting like your mother. And I'm pretty sure Wet Willie doesn't help him. Don't give her the credit card and tell her to go shopping. You might end up in poorhouse. Don't go out with the boys. And don't bring her the vacuum cleaner. And try not to tell her in all the ways she's wrong. Don't shush her. And don't put her on your knee and give her a spanking. I guess that's obvious, isn't it? Now, maybe 4 gentle ways, maybe. Take a puppy and put that puppy in her arms. That might calm her down for some people. Tell her we're going to get in the car and I'm going to drive you somewhere. And when she sees Jared's jewelry store and you open the door to go in, maybe she'll start grinning. You might also have a picture of her in the kitchen with the words, Employee of the Month, and you're getting a raise. Now that, still you might have to be careful with that too. But biblically, how do we calm an angry spirit? I tried to think of an example in the Old Testament. And you know what came up? Hosea. You remember the prophet to Israel? In his preaching to an adulterous nation. Adulterous in that they were leaving God and worshiping false gods and idols and so forth. Do you know what Hosea was required to do? Instead of putting away his adulterous wife, God told him, remain with her. God wanted Hosea to know fully what it was to put up with a sinful person. To be patient, forgiving, hoping to win that person back in the same essence of preaching to Israel. You are the adulterous woman. God wants you back. He wants you restored. He wants your obedience and your love. That's what Hosea had to put up with. I wonder if any of these things could he preach to us about how to deal with calming an angry spirit. I go to Ephesians chapter 4, verse 26. If you'd like to go with me. Ephesians 4, 26. I guess you can imagine tonight that in the Old Testament, Proverbs, there'll be a lot more verses to help us. So I want to deal with some of these thoughts in the New Testament first. Ephesians 4, 26. Be ye angry and sin not. Let not the sun go down upon your wrath. Neither give place to the devil. Let him that stole steal no more, but rather let him labor, working with his hands, the thing which is good that he may have to give to the needy. Why would I say that? Stealing is more than taking something materialistic. Being angry, you take the peace and harmony away in a relationship because you've acted incorrectly. And I guess that next verse, let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth, but that which is good to the use of edifying, that it may minister grace unto the hearer. Imagine how that is applied to the individual that's angry. I guess the first question is, how do you get their attention? How do you get them to listen? How do you... We realize that person who is aggravated, they don't want to hear anything. Maybe if you're the guilty one that's caused it, they don't want to see your face. They don't want to be in your presence. You can't just go up, let me give you a hug. No, they're not ready for that yet. how do you get them ready to listen? Verse 31. Let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and evil speaking be put away from you with all malice. Malice is forethought. Malice is something done with purpose. Here's that angry person. What do they need to hear? That you care, that you agree with their being angry. It matters what their point is that they're angry about. Let me hear it. Listen to what they have to say and legitimize that anger. They didn't just fly off the handle. It might have been something that developed over a period of time. Go to 2 Timothy chapter 2, verses 23 through 25. 2 Timothy. 2 Timothy 2, beginning at verse 23. But foolish and unlearned questions avoid, knowing that they do gender strife. How we approach this is very important. Dealing with an argument, dealing with something you don't know about. You might not know what's caused it. Us men probably have a sneaking suspicion that something we said or didn't do caused it. And to serve the Lord must not strive, but be gentle unto all men, apt to teach, patient. One of the things I first came up with, quit making them mad. You know, sometimes we know just the right button to push to cause some people to go over the edge. Don't do that. Stop that. Be proactive. Anytime we can learn people and their nature and their personality, and if we've already had a hint to something that they were weak at, you work around that. Don't allow that to take place. So be proactive. I always like to go to 1 Peter chapter 3. Here in verses talking about the woman toward her husband, but also in 1 Peter 3:7. Likewise, and it took 6 verses to say the good points of a wife that is humble, and 1 verse to help the man. I don't know if there's any lesson in that, but likewise, ye husbands, dwell with them according to knowledge, with the best ability we can. Try to learn who they are, how to please them, how to make them happy, how to understand them. I know you're going to say, how do you understand a woman? Well, you've put yourself into that situation. You better start learning. As to the weaker vessel, and I know all the arguments about, she's made different. Physically, she can't lift as great an amount as some men. Although, have you ever seen ladies who compete weightlifting? They lift more than I can. Weaker vessel, are they weaker in what way? I believe understand that she's an individual, that you, even though from Genesis it says she's our helpmate, I think the husband, the man, realizes the courtesy, the kindness that he shows. Here, let me lift that for you. But not weaker in mind, not weaker in morals. No. but as being heirs together of the grace of God, that your prayers will not be hindered. Both parties can cause difficulty in a spiritual life. And when there's not a blending and a harmonious coming together, things could be hindered. Let's go to Proverbs 19. Oh, tell you what, let's go to Proverbs 14. Verse 26. I'm sorry, I've got so many numbers here. 14, 17. He that is soon angry deals foolishly, and a man of wicked devices is hated. I think we need to be careful about applying that verse. Just because someone is angry doesn't mean they did something foolishly. There's something legitimate. There's something there that the problem, and it needs to be fixed. Look at verse 29. He that is slow to wrath is of a great understanding, but he that is hasty of spirit exalts folly. So you're not going to go to her and say, well, you've acted hastily. No. Say, sweetie, I know that something's wrong. What can I do to help you? 15 verse 1. I love this one. Proverbs 15 verse 1. A soft answer turns away wrath, but grievous words stir up anger. Notice, when anger takes hold of one individual, it is soon to be shared, or it may cause the other to be angry, and then the only thing that you have is a shouting match, anger, and then it's anger versus anger. But I think 15 verse 18 helps in this situation. A wrathful man stirs up strife, but he that is slow to anger appeases strife. I think approaching that angry person, how calm you are, how loving you are, will open the avenue for healing quicker than saying, well, dear, I don't know what's the matter. That's like throwing fuel on the fire. 19 verse 11. The discretion of man defers his anger, and it is his glory to pass over a transgression. Maybe there's some way to diffuse it by saying, let's talk about something else. Don't say, well, you've over-exaggerated it and you've just gone too far. No. Use that verse to help direct it in a more calm way. Chapter 22, verse 24. Still in Proverbs. 22:24. Here is something to think about. Make no friendship with an angry man, and with a furious man thou shalt not go, lest thou learn his ways and get a snare to thy soul. Maybe this is some of that prevention that needs to take place. Too many times, individuals enter into marriage vows without really knowing the other person. It takes time to get to know who somebody really is. And a long engagement may prove to be beneficial. Sometimes marriages have been called off because they learned of a certain weakness in the other individual. Let's see, 22 verse 24 and 25. I think I just read that, I'm sorry. Ecclesiastes 7:9 says, "Be not hasty in spirit to be angry, but anger rests in the bosom of fools." I think as I close tonight, God teaches the virtue of choosing patience, calmness, goodness, over rage, bitterness, and a bad temper. Validate, but confirm your love to that individual, so that in time things will be better. Maybe forgiveness found, and then a prettier picture. Two individuals living together in harmony and love. I think there's probably something I have forgotten that I wanted to say, but I believe I've touched the hem of the garment. Whether I'm the person who is angry or if I'm the person who's wondering what in the world happened, it takes both to talk and communicate. Oh, one thing. Pray for wisdom. That's right on the top of my list. Pray. God, help me to approach this in a wise way. How did Solomon deal with two angry women who were fighting over whose baby it was? And he took hold of the compassion of the real mother. He said, okay, where's the baby? Bring it here. Cut it in half. Give each mother a half. What did Solomon know? That the real mother would be the one who would sacrifice the child, giving up her child that it would live. That situation was brought to a healing and truth by the wise man. We can pray for wisdom. God will grant it. Tonight, maybe you know something that I do not know, and you need wisdom. Let us help pray for you, encourage you in whatever way. Come while we stand, while we sing.